G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program with Mags. It has been a bloody long time since I've played any KSP on the channel, and, well, honestly, the announcement of KSP 2 gives me a perfect reason to actually come back to this. I've kind of been missing it, if I'm entirely honest. Now, the last time I played KSP on the channel, the playthrough did fall apart a little bit towards the end, and it was largely because I didn't really have any direction on exactly where I wanted to go, because there's obviously so much you can do in KSP. So this time I'm going to set myself up a couple of mission objectives to actually achieve. Once we've achieved those, we'll take a look at either setting up some new ones, or maybe wrapping the series up there. We'll see how it goes. So, anyways, what are the objectives? Well, first things first, I want to do a full Duna mission. That is, take off from Kerbal, all the way to Duna, land, do some science, pack up, and bring everything, including all of my Kerbals, back home. So a complete mission with return. Second, I want to set up a self-sustaining base on either the Mun or Minmus. This is using some of the colony mods that I actually have installed on. And last of all, I want a functioning, at least medium-scale space station operating in Kerbal orbit as a refuel point for potential spacecraft for larger scale missions down the track. So not necessarily a science-focused space station, although I do have science parts available in one of the mods, and we will talk about mods in just a moment, but more of a refueling point than anything else, an actual more practical space station for the purposes of future missions. Anyway, so that's my 3 goals, and I want to achieve all of those in this playthrough. And then we'll see where we go from there. Anyways, let's get to it. So, before we get started on building our first couple of missions out here, let's just quickly go through the mods that I've got installed on. Now, the vast majority of the mods that I actually have installed are all visual. So, cloud effects, extra higher quality textures, new textures for spacecraft components, space, that kind of stuff. So most of it's all visually orientated. I do have some parts mods installed on. Now, and I'm not even sure where to find them here. Most of the parts mods I have installed are from the Near Future Sciences setting, and this is because KSP 2 is intended to be what the technology is intended to be based around the technology that we're going to have available in the near future, rather than the technology that we currently have. And I'm trying to replicate that a little bit in this playthrough. So I've got some of the near future science packages. I'm sure you've seen those mods before. I've avoided any parts that seem too expressly overpowered. You won't find any warp drives or anything like that in here. Stuff that would be realistic, but a little bit more advanced, and most of that is for my end game, for if we decide to go a little bit further than the current plans. Now, the rest of the mods, the key mods that I have installed on here, is the colonization mods. So we have parts for building lunar bases and off-world bases, or off-world habitats, as it were. Some extra parts to allow a little bit of extra flexibility in constructing space stations and aircraft. And the big one for this one is, of course, the life support mod. Now, I'm running a fairly hardcore life support. If my spacecraft for any period runs out of power for anywhere longer than about, I think it's about 2 minutes maximum, all my Kerbals will die. If I run out of the oxygen supplies on my spacecraft, all my Kerbals will die. If I run out of the food supplies on my spacecraft, all my Kerbals will die. And that's basically it. So the reason why, and I've been running life support mods for as nearly as long as I've been playing KSP and found life support mods, is because they essentially keep the players honest. Where in the vanilla game, if you want to say go to Joule, as an example, you can launch your Kerbals into an orbit around the sun and then have them orbit around the sun for 50 in-game years until you get a perfect encounter with Joule, if you want to. That's entirely possible, because there's nothing stopping your Kerbals from doing that. They won't die. With the life support mod set up the way that I've got, I have to be honest about everything. I have to plan the mission so that everything that is going to happen within the boundaries of the mission happens within the life support that is actually available. And if at any time I run out, mission over. if anything goes wrong and my Kerbals get trapped, I can't just leave them on a planet for 60 years until I get around to picking them up. I will need to send some kind of at least one-way supply rocket with life support modules on board to prevent them from dying and starving, otherwise they will die. So it adds an extra layer of difficulty and means I do actually have to plan everything out far, far more carefully. And if I get anything wrong, which it's entirely possible I will, and highly likely that I will, I'm going to have some little green bodies on my hands, so let's just try not to do that with the 3 at the start. I hate it whenever Jeb dies, and I've killed him more than once. But anyways, that's where we're at. I will try and get together a full mods listing. I haven't got all the mod names off the top of my head, but as I said, most of everything here is visual, and just minor parts, or just mods that allow me extra parts for building aircraft or expanding space stations, or just a little bit more of construction flexibility. Nothing overpowered. I have other saves to have overpowered parts. But anyways, our first rocket. So we're going to need something that's relatively small. Well, let's be perfectly honest here. We're not exactly going to have a huge amount of parts available to us. Thank you. Welcome to the vehicle assembly building. Yeah, I know how this works. Alright, so we're going to start off with a basic command pod. This is probably going to be exactly the same rocket that virtually every single one of you has built at some point before, because honestly, with the parts you have available to start with, you ain't got a lot of choice. We do have solid fuel booster, we've got a parachute. Do we have any science components here? Science. I do have Kerbal engineering system on board. That's very important for later. And you know what? I'm going to be a real cheeky bastard. I'm going to try and put 2 goo canisters on this straight off the bat for the extra science, because I'm going to need that. Oh, probably one other thing that's going to be a little bit different with my playthrough. Yes, I've got TrackIR installed too, because TrackIR should be standard in KSP at this point. That should be by default. One other thing that might be a little bit different with my KSP in later missions as well, I'm not going to be doing it here, but I will be doing it with some of the larger launches, is I do tend to fly my larger launches on joystick. Now, I do need to do a quick change with the staging, because my staging is out. There we go. So, flea fires, and then parachute, and we are basically ballistic. Going to give it a little bit of an arc towards the mountains, not entirely sure how far we'll actually make it, but first things first, we'll grab 1 mystery groove from here in the pad, and let's grab a crew report. Now I should be able to EVA here, because we are still in an atmosphere, so this is fine. Do an EVA report. Take the crew report, store both experiments, and then reboard, and then we can do another crew report while we're in flight, take both of those out, and then get a report from wherever we land. SAS on. And that is a really powerful little engine, although it's more to the point, it's a really light little rocket. And this is why I have the visual stuff installed on. KSP is so much nicer with clouds. Now, I don't have engineer at the moment, so we'll just do a quick map check. What are we going to hit? We're going to hit 12 kilometers off that. Now, the only problem with a design like this is it's essentially a bullet, and once it starts falling, it will start accelerating. So I am going to need to pop the parachutes relatively early. 58. Alright, observe mystery goo. That's the peak of our flight while flying over Kerbal. That's an extra 7 science. Thank you very much. Let's just angle ourselves back so we're tail down. Parachute all the way up here. And a little drogue here should keep us from accelerating too much, I hope. Otherwise it's entirely possible to actually have this as it goes nose down and you lose all control. Like even if I put SAS back on at the moment, I cannot straighten this up. it's entirely possible that this will accelerate to the point where I'm unable to flip it back, and I'm at a point where I'll actually tear the parachute off if I deployed it. So we're slowing down a little bit here. And that will be a successful first launch. It's going to start deploying. Spin us back around, deceleration down, perfect. And looks like we have landed off KSP's area, so we're in the... This should be a grasslands biome. And touchdown. Perfect. Yeah, that's alright. Doors up. So, EVA. Oh, I forgot to do the in-flight report. Ah, god damn it. Figures I'd do something. EVA report. Where are we at? Kerbals grasslands. So we will take data, store experiments, reboard the capsule, and while we're inside we'll also do a crew report. We actually missed out on the flight sign. We'll pick that up at another time though, so that's okay. Alright, let's recover the vessel. Alright, first launch, 1.5, okay, 22.8 science earned for the first flight. And we recovered, of course, the entire ship. 1 XP point for Jebediah Kerman, which is good. Alright, it's done. Alright, now we have some science, so let's get straight back in here. Engineering, we will want for that one there, and we'll want to pick up rocketry as well. Now that gives us 20 science left to play with, and everything here is going to be about 15 there. 18 for the wings, 20.8, so we can get the engines and the basic liquid fuel tank. We get the larger solid fuel booster as well. Okay, so missions here. Nope, nope, nope. Splash down at Kerbal. What do we got to do? Perform the test, use run test option on the parts context menu when all test conditions are met. We must be splashed down. So just splash down anywhere, really, it seems. 2 science, 13. What exactly is test the Mark 1 command pod? Yeah, alright, we'll take that one. We can have 2. Escape the atmosphere. Alright, we can do that. Pretty sure that should be possible with this launch as well, I hope. Okay, so for this mission we need to do a suborbital hop and we want to splash down in the ocean. So, a couple of things we're going to need to do. First is get rid of the flea booster. 162.909 kilonewtons at sea level. 250.0 kilonewtons at sea level. So that is the SRB that we now want. But what we're also going to want here is a decoupler. And that is just so we can get rid of the rocket once it's performed its usage, and we can make a far more comfortable re-entry. And science-wise, we do have access to the thermometer now. So, put them on in a pair. Now, I can't really get those much higher than we are. I'm just thinking about re-entry. Once we've jettisoned the engine and we're re-entering back in, the heat shield, the default heat shield at the bottom of the Mark 1 command pod, it's going to be taking all the heat from re-entry, and I want to make sure that the mystery goos aren't outside of it, otherwise they can pick up excess heat and they might explode. So then we have the thermometers. The reason why we're loading up 2 on 2, mystery goo while we're in the air, thermometer while we're in the air, mystery goo while we're in space, thermometer while we are in space, as well as obviously our crew reports, which we will pick up only for this flight, the one in space, because we cannot EVA while we are in atmo, obviously. We can't EVA while we're in space at the moment to pull data out and put it back in, just to make sure we're nice and clear. Beyond that, the only extra thing that I would like to add to this one is Kerbal engineering systems, and no, we do not need 2 of them, we just want 1. little circuit board here, and this will give us all of our in-flight telemetry, so we can actually see what is going on, which is something that I think really should probably be default in KSP at this point, but you know, maybe it will be in KSP too. A little bit of staging check here. We'll need the parachute onto the right setting. So, fire the main SRB. It'll burn for about 45 seconds, I think. 42.2 second burn. Jettison. And then we've got the parachute. Alright, and Hopper Mark II is ready for launch. So, double check staging. We have main SRB fire, stack separator, and then we have our parachute for re-entry. One thing we do want to do before we take off and go too far here is let's grab ourselves a temperature here. It's only 2.4 science, but every little bit counts at this point. EVA. Let's take that data and store it. Reboard. Alright, that should be it. Engines to maximum, not that it matters, it's an SRB, so it always fires on full power. SAS activated, so we have at least some steering control. Let's see how this goes. Good 45. Oh. It's fighting me a bit here. I'm trying to lean it over as hard as we possibly can, and it's wanting to pull straight. We are going fast here. We're going to start. Oh, we're starting to heat up. Please don't explode stuff. Oh, and there's stuff exploding. Please don't. Stop. Stop it. And there goes all of our science experiments. Damn it. Oh, no matter, because we have, with an apoapsis height of 105, we have managed to clear the atmosphere, or at least we will clear the atmosphere, so we have completed our mission objectives at the very least. So let's SAS off at this point. There's no point in having that on. And we just enjoy the flight out. Okay, so we are on the descent back to the atmosphere at this point. Not a great deal for us to do here, except jettison the SRB. Now I'm going to activate SAS temporarily just to get us nice and lined up on our retrograde marker, and SAS off, and now we just ride ourselves back into the atmosphere. Well, since we blew off all the science experiments on the way up, we don't actually have to worry about a whole lot here. This should be a nice controlled re-entry, and there is nothing but blue beneath us, so it looks like we are going to comfortably hit the ocean, so we'll be able to perform the pod test. So that is 2 mission objectives completed. And splashdown. Alright, so now we're in the water. Run test. And that should be world's first milestone, contract parameter completed, and contract completed. So, perfect. So what I'm going to do, pop the decoupler off. Now we want payload, service bay. We're going to attach that one to the back. We're not going to do that one just yet. Now we want a utility. This is all of our life support containers that we just unlocked. Science is still the same. There it is, heat shield. We're going to want the 1.25 meter heat shield. Then we wanted a couple of fitted, and then we want the SRB. Okay, so now what we can do is we can open up the service bay, and we can start putting the science experiments inside, and this will keep them safe from all the heating during launch and re-entry. All's good, right? Well, not quite. This is going to make the craft less stable when we bring it back through the atmosphere. So, yeah, it's not ideal, but this whole rocket isn't perfectly ideal. I mean, we've still got to put the SRBs on the bottom for our mission objectives so we can test them. Actually, probably we should make those a little wider just for even weight distribution. Not that I think it's going to matter all that much. Alright, there we go. That should do the job. Alright. Yes, I'm fully aware of what that looks like. No, it wasn't intentional, but I know that's not going to stop the Austin Powers jokes in my comment section. Bloody degenerates. Anyways, staging check. Yep, main booster. Separation for the hammers. Separation for the main booster, and then parachute. I should really have thought about that design better. And I think I need to grow up a little bit too. Alright, let's just get this underway, shall we? Let's just fire the main booster. I'm not even sure if these will have enough to get us off the pad. Oh no, they do. Alright, so let's start leaning this over as quickly as we possibly can. I'm going to get us over to about 45 off the pad. And it just occurs to me, the hammer's already getting us into flight, and then having the main engine fire as well, we are going to have so much thrust. It's quite possible we could do an orbit on SRBs here. Alright, I'm going to restage this actually. I want to separate those first. Now, fire the main booster. Quietly. Going along. Yeah, we've hit space. Bring us back to the horizon, and we are really burning up here. We had overheat up on the parachute. We are slowing down here a little. Apoapsis is 160,000 kilometers, 159,000 kilometers now. We are still bleeding off a little bit here as we are still in atmosphere. How far do we exactly get around? Whoa, we're going to be coming down on the dark side. Yeah, if we had a liquid fuel engine on board right now, this wouldn't be hard to circularize. Not at all. So we're definitely within the possibilities for an orbit at this point. And I almost forgot to do it. Open 66. Alright, observe. That should be upper atmosphere. Yes, keep experiment. Log temperature, and that'll be space. Temperature scan while in space near Kerbal. That's alright, it means I'll only have to get the upper atmosphere temperature scan on the way back down. It's not critical if we don't get it. It would be nice to get it, and that's the near space. Let's close up the doors. We should be able to pick the upper atmosphere up before we reach the point where we actually start getting the re-entry heating. Alright, so SAS is off, so we can serve power, because again, the life support, we will die if we run out of electrical charge. 275 or 300 on board, which is fine for our height. Food, water and oxygen is all good. Bugger all, waste is ticking up here, carbon dioxide is building up, but we've got plenty of room for that, for what we need. As I said, the pod itself should last 2 days without needing anything external. out of the sun. Alright, 75. So it's time to get ourselves ready for re-entry. 70 being the barrier to atmosphere. So first things first, let us jettison this tank. We haven't exactly got a lot of light to work with here. So let's rotate us through. So we are now bum first. We're at 59, so I'm going to open up the doors here. Now I think... no, that one there's got data on it, so we're going to want that one there. Log temperature, upper atmosphere, so we keep that one. Now we close up the doors. Oh, that was just in a nick of time. Keep the SAS on for this point. As I said, the extra weight on the bottom of the command pods can sometimes cause them to flip around as you're doing re-entry, and that's the last thing you want. Let's have a look at our heat shield. 195, so it's ablating nicely. Gonna have plenty in this heat shield. Although I've had some transfers where I've come back from Mun or Minimus in particular, where you can, if you mess it up, you can essentially destroy the entire heat shield on re-entry. It'll come out with, you know, single-digit numbers on the end of it. Anyways, that is done. It looks like we're going to come down on the coastline. It looks like it's still going to be a water landing. It does look nice. I do like these textures with the glow maps for the cities. Even though that's all they are, they're just textures, nighttime textures. Hopefully KSP2 will actually have some low poly cities floating around. They don't have to be particularly complex, but just, you know, something to represent an actual city would be nice. I'll have to see what they end up putting in there. Anyways, ladies and gents, this was a successful and safe landing, as you would imagine, and the pod was recovered along with all of the science, which was fantastic. So our next mission plan will be a full orbital mission, and then we'll have to start looking at the Mun and Minimus for our next stops, because we will have to unlock quite a lot before we can start looking at things like space stations or interplanetary missions. Still, until then, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. It has been some time since I've done KSP on the channel, so I'm still trying to remember how I used to edit it, and trying to work out how I would edit it. Now, I did this mostly as a live play, but I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work in the long run, especially when the missions start ranging into the hours. So I'll have to have a little bit of a think about that. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. Let me know whether or not you're happy to see KSP back on the channel or not. And let me know what you think of KSP2's announcement. I know I haven't spoken about it just yet, but don't worry, I have been following it very closely because, well, I've been waiting for this for quite some time. Anyways, guys, until next time, remember to click that like button if you did, share and subscribe if you would like to see more, and as always, take care.